I came home from school feeling tense. My daughter Alina's teacher had called me in again, and the conversation left a bitter taste in my mouth. I couldn't even process what I heard. The accusations. The attitude. As soon as I stepped inside, I called Kostya, my partner. Can you believe this? I hissed into the phone. That little witch turned off her phone again, but she's coming back. I'll say everything I've been holding in. And you? You're late again. Of course. As always. I feel like I live in a damn hostel, not a home. I heard the door creak open. I was ready. Ready to face Alina and unload every worry, every frustration, every unanswered question. But it wasn't her. It was Irina, my old friend, our neighbor, and she wasn't smiling. She shoved a bag into my hands. Take this. What is it? Take it, Svetlana. I don't want it. I looked inside. Clothes. Expensive ones. Not something you find at a local market or even a modest boutique. I don't work at the passport office. I don't take bribes, she snapped. But I dress my daughter myself. I don't want her wearing someone else's things. What are you even talking about? Yulia said these were Alina's clothes. That she borrowed them. But I never bought these for Alina. Then who did? Kostya? But he's not even her father, and they barely speak. That was only the beginning. Irina had also been called in by her daughter's class teacher, just like me. Apparently, Yulia had been caught exchanging a 500 hryvnia bill at a kiosk, skipping lunch at the school cafeteria to hang out at some overpriced cafe. I saw your daughter with my own eyes, Irina insisted. Wearing clothes even rich kids don't have. Showing off. Acting above everyone. My stomach twisted. I buy Alina's clothes at the market. Always have. Well, either you're lying or you're in the dark. Because the teachers are fed up. She's skipping classes, talking back, dressing like she's going to a nightclub. They're about to raise the issue at the next parent-teacher meeting. I felt like the floor had dropped beneath me. I went to Alina's room and tore it apart. I needed answers. But everything in her wardrobe looked familiar. Cheap. Modest. Nothing suspicious. She could be hiding it elsewhere, Irina said coldly. You're just not looking hard enough. My Alina's not like your Yulia. Right, she snapped. Because your daughter is a saint. Just wait. You'll see. She stormed out, leaving me stunned and furious. But more than that, afraid. Later that evening, Alina came home. I stared at her as she walked past me, indifferent, calm. Where were you? I asked. Out. Who were you talking to? Yulia. She's grounded. How do you know? Because maybe I should ground you too. For what? For everything. The skipping. The lies. What lies? She snapped. That I was with Yulia from Building 75? You satisfied now? I wanted to scream. To cry. But instead I just said, dinner will be ready in 15 minutes. At the table, everything felt fake. The smiles. The chewing. The silence. Kostya said nothing. Alina acted like everything was normal. But I could feel something was wrong. That night, I waited for her to fall asleep. Then I went in. Alina. I went to your school today. So that witch lied to you again, huh? She's your teacher. She's a monster. Nobody in class likes her. That's not a reason to skip school or ride taxis or drink coffee in fancy cafes. What taxis? What coffee? She shot back. Where would I get the money? I want to know that too. Fine, she snapped. We went to that cafe once. We had ice cream. Dad gave me money. Remember? I told you I met him. And these clothes. I pulled out the ones Irina had returned. Yulia said she borrowed them from you. I've never even owned anything that fancy. You can't afford stuff like that. Then where did she get them? Why are you asking me? Ask Yulia. We're not speaking anymore, she added coldly. You're not speaking? No. And I don't want to. Alina, I whispered. Are you lying to me? She rolled over, back to me. I'm sleeping. I wanted to believe her. Every mother wants to believe her child. But something felt broken. I brought it up with Kostya the next morning. Don't worry so much, he said. Alina's a good girl. Then why is she skipping classes? Why did she vanish yesterday with her phone off? Why did her teacher say she's acting like a spoiled brat? Maybe it's peer pressure. Teenagers do stupid things. She's only 15. If something's going on, if she's gotten into a bad crowd. You're overthinking. I wasn't. I knew I wasn't. Something had shifted. Something was off. And it was only going to get worse. The next day, I tried to shake off the uneasy feeling gnawing at my chest. I went through the usual motions: breakfast, dishes, getting dressed, but every sound, every movement Alina made felt off. Like she was hiding something in plain sight. That evening, I finally worked up the nerve to check her room again, slowly this time, methodically. Her drawers, her closet, under the bed. I found nothing, except for the usual teenage mess. I sat down on her bed, running my hand over the blanket, trying to convince myself I was just paranoid. But then something poked my palm from underneath the mattress. I reached in and pulled it out, a thin envelope, carefully taped shut. My heart raced as I opened it. Inside was a folded piece of paper with a list of phone numbers, short names written beside each one in messy handwriting, and a small wad of cash. A lot more than a 15-year-old should have. My hands trembled. I tucked the money and paper back where I found them and quietly left the room. Maybe she was just holding it for someone else. Maybe it was nothing. But deep down, I knew that was a lie. Later that night, I called Irina again. We need to talk. Now. She came over within minutes. I showed her what I'd found, and she went pale. I found something too, she whispered. In Yulia's bag. Lingerie. Expensive perfume. And condoms. We sat in stunned silence for a while, the room thick with disbelief and dread. This is all my fault, I muttered. I should have seen it sooner. No, Irina snapped. It's that damn internet. Those predators. They lure girls in with promises of money and glamour. But our daughters? I interrupted. They're smart. Not stupid. Smart girls get used too, Irina said, looking away. The next day, I confronted Alina directly. She was scrolling on her phone, as if the world around her wasn't crumbling. Where did the money come from? I asked, holding the envelope in my hand. Her face went blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. Then explain this. I shook the list of names and numbers in her face. Who are these people? Why do you have so much cash in your room? She glared at me like I was some stranger. That's not mine. You shouldn't go through my stuff. I'm your mother. I'll go through anything I damn well please if I think you're in danger. In danger? Of what? She sneered. You're insane. Tears welled up in my eyes. Alina, please. Just tell me the truth. I can help. There's nothing to tell, she said and stormed off to her room, slamming the door behind her. Kostya came home late again that night. I was sitting on the couch, holding that damn envelope like it was a ticking time bomb. I need to ask you something, I said. He gave me a tired look. Can it wait? No, it can't. Fine. What? Have you been giving Alina money? He raised an eyebrow. No. Why? Because I found cash in her room. A lot of it. And a list of strange phone numbers. And she's been lying. Constantly. Kostya looked away. She's probably just being a teenager. Stop it. She's not just being a teenager. Something's wrong and you're pretending not to notice. You're overreacting. No, I'm not. My voice cracked. And you know it. He stood up, walked into the kitchen, and poured himself a drink. I have enough problems at work without coming home to this drama. I watched him carefully. There was something off about him too lately. More than just distance. He was hiding something, just like Alina. The next day Irina called me, sobbing. Yulia's gone. She didn't come home last night. Her phone's off. I dropped everything and ran to her apartment. She was pacing like a maniac. I locked her in last night. Took her keys. She must have climbed out the window. Did you call the police? Not yet. I don't know what to say to them. But just as she reached for the phone, it rang. Her face turned gray. It's the hospital, she whispered. We got to the emergency room within minutes. The nurses wouldn't let us see her. She's in intensive care, they said. Stabilized, but in bad condition. What happened to her? Irina asked. They didn't have answers. Just vague mentions of blunt force trauma and unknown circumstances. I had never seen Irina look so small, so fragile. I stayed with her until she could breathe again, then left for home. As soon as I stepped into the apartment, I knew something was wrong. The door was unlocked. Alina wasn't in her room. But Kostya was, sitting on the couch like nothing had happened. "Where's Alina?" I asked. "Out," he said, not even looking up. I stood there, silent for a moment. Then I walked toward him. "We need to talk." "About what?" "I saw something in your drawer. A new leather jacket. A pack of $100 bills." His head snapped toward me. "Why were you looking in my drawer?" "Because I think you're hiding something. I think you know what's going on with Alina. And I think you're part of it." He stood up slowly. "You're insane." "Then explain the money." "The clothes." "The fact that Alina listens to you more than me lately." "I'm not explaining anything," he said. "I'm done with this." "No," I said, stepping in his path. "You don't get to walk away. Not this time." I stood my ground in the living room as Kostya brushed past me like I was air. I followed him into the hallway, the heat of betrayal boiling under my skin. "Stop," I said, voice low but shaking. "You're not walking out of here until you tell me what the hell is going on." He turned slowly, lips curling into something between pity and contempt. "You think you know everything, huh? You think you're so righteous, Svetlana." "No," I said, fists clenched. "I think I'm a mother who's terrified her daughter is slipping through her fingers." "You always were dramatic." I slapped him. "I didn't mean to, it just happened." The sting on my palm startled me as much as the shock on his face. "Get out," I whispered, barely able to breathe. "Get out." He didn't argue. He just grabbed his keys and walked out the door. The silence afterward was worse than any shouting. I sank to the floor, my back against the cold wall, and sobbed into my hands. My daughter was lying to me. My partner was hiding things. And Yulia, sweet, troubled Yulia, was in a hospital bed, broken and silent. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the floorboards made me flinch. Every buzz of my phone sent my heart racing. In the morning, I woke up to the sound of the front door opening. Alina. She tiptoed into the kitchen like a thief. "Where were you?" I asked from the hallway. She jumped. "Ma." "Jesus, don't do that." "I asked you a question." I couldn't sleep. "Went for a walk." "At 6 in the morning?" She didn't answer. I followed her into the kitchen. "I need the truth. No more games. No more secrets." She looked at me, dead in the eye. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't." "I found the money. The names. Kostya's been acting strange. And Yulia's in intensive care." Her face flickered for a split second. Fear? Guilt? What happened to Yulia? I pushed. "Tell me what you know." She didn't tell me anything. "We haven't even spoken in days." "You expect me to believe that?" "I don't care what you believe," she snapped. "You're never going to believe me anyway." I was speechless. She pushed past me, locked herself in the bathroom, and ran the shower. The hiss of the water drowned out my tears. Later that day, I went to the hospital to check on Yulia. Irina was already there, her eyes hollow. "She woke up," she said. I gasped. "What did she say?" "She won't talk. She just stares. Like she's somewhere else entirely." "Do you think she was assaulted?" Irina nodded slowly. "They won't confirm anything yet, but the doctors suspect it." My legs nearly gave out beneath me. "I need to go," I whispered. "I have to find out the truth." Back home, Alina wasn't there. Her phone was on her bed, vibrating with notifications. Against every motherly instinct, I picked it up and unlocked it. What I found made me sick. Messages. Dozens of them. Some deleted, some saved. Photos of her, of Yulia, dressed up, posing. Not nude, but suggestive. Chat logs with older men. Conversations about meeting times, places, payments. I felt like vomiting. But the worst was a string of messages with a contact labeled K. I opened it, my hands shaking. "K, don't forget 8 p.m. He's bringing cash. You know what to do. K, and don't mess it up like last time. K, smile more. You looked dead inside in those last pics. K, Kostya." My entire body went cold. I ran to the drawer where Kostya kept his old police ID and spare keys. The drawer was empty. He'd disappeared. I wanted to scream, to break every plate in the house. Instead, I picked up my phone and dialed the only person who could still save us. "Hello," the voice said groggily. "Irina," I whispered. "It's Kostya. He's the one. He's behind it all." There was a long silence. "You're sure?" I found the messages. Alina and Yulia. He was using them. "Oh my God. We need to go to the police." "Do you think they'll believe us?" "They have to. And if they don't, I swear to God, I'll make them." I called the station, asked to speak to anyone, about a potential trafficking case. They told me to come in immediately. I grabbed Alina's phone, the screenshots I took, and every ounce of courage I had left. As I turned to leave, I heard the front door creak open. Alina. She froze in the hallway when she saw me with her phone. "Give that back." "No," I said. "Sit down." "Mama, I swear." "Sit down." She obeyed, her lower lip trembling. "Tell me the truth." "Everything." And finally, she did. She told me about how Kostya started off friendly, almost fatherly. How he would buy her gifts, compliment her, talk to her when I wasn't around. How he slowly pulled her away from me, convinced her I was controlling, suffocating. Then he introduced her to modeling and to clients. He told her it was just a talk, just to make some money. Nothing would happen if she didn't want it to. But it did. I couldn't breathe as she spoke. My heart shattered with every word. He said if I didn't do it, he'd tell everyone. Show them pictures. Said no one would believe me. She broke down in tears, and I held her. For the first time in weeks, we cried together. "You're not going back there," I whispered. "I'll fix this. I promise." And in that moment, I stopped being afraid. I became something else. Something fierce. A mother ready to burn down the world for her child. When I stepped into the police station, I felt like I was sleepwalking through someone else's nightmare. My hands were clenched so tightly around Alina's phone that my knuckles were white. Every second I spent sitting in the waiting area felt like a lifetime, until a detective finally called me in. He introduced himself as Officer Dimitro, a middle-aged man with tired eyes and a quiet voice. I handed him the screenshots. He scrolled through them slowly, saying nothing, and with each flick of his thumb, the silence grew heavier. "Where's your daughter now?" he asked at last. "She's safe. At home." "I don't think he knows we found anything yet." He nodded. "And your partner, Kostya?" "Gone," I whispered. "He's disappeared. We'll issue a warrant." This isn't the first time we've seen something like this, but it's rare someone comes in with this much evidence. I blinked. "Wait, this has happened before?" Dimitro looked grim. "Organized predators don't operate in isolation. If this man was using girls, it's likely others are involved. This could be bigger than just your family." I shivered. "We'll need statements. From both you and your daughter." "She's terrified." "We'll help her," he said gently. "But we need to move fast." I signed what I had to, gave my statement, and promised to bring Alina in the next day. When I returned home, Alina was curled up on the sofa, knees to her chest, staring at the blank television screen. She looked up when I walked in but didn't say a word. "They're going to help us," I told her. "But we have to go tomorrow. You have to tell them what you told me." She nodded slowly. "Will they put me in jail?" My heart broke. "No, baby. You're the victim. You didn't do anything wrong." Tears welled in her eyes. "But what about Yulia? We'll visit her tomorrow too. Maybe seeing you will help her talk." The next morning, we did just that. Alina gripped my hand tightly as we walked into the hospital. Irina met us in the hallway, her face pale. "She's awake again," Irina whispered, "but she still won't talk." We entered the room slowly. Yulia looked smaller than I remembered. Fragile. Bruised. Her eyes flicked to Alina, and something shifted in her expression. A flicker of recognition. Of fear. Of guilt. "Yulia," Alina whispered, stepping closer. Yulia turned her face to the wall. Irina sighed. She still won't speak. But as we turned to leave, Yulia's voice, hoarse, barely a whisper, cut through the silence. "He lied to us." We froze. "Who did, honey?" Irina asked gently. Yulia turned her eyes back toward us, and now they burned with pain. "Kostya. He said he'd protect us. He said it was just for money. Just a joke." Alina reached out to her, and they touched fingers barely. He hurt you, Alina whispered. Yulia's nod was so faint I almost missed it. That night, I sat with Alina as she gave her full statement to the police. Every detail, every manipulation, every dark corner Kostya had backed her into. Dimitro didn't interrupt once, just nodded and typed and listened. When she finished, he said, "We'll do our job. I promise you, we'll find him." And they did. 2 days later, Kostya was arrested trying to cross the border. He was driving a new car, using a fake ID, and carrying a stack of cash he couldn't explain. When the officers told me, I laughed. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it felt like the only sound my body could produce that wasn't screaming. But the nightmare wasn't over. The trial dragged on for months. The press got wind of the story. Headlines screamed about the policemen and the schoolgirls. Photos of Alina and Yulia circulated like wildfire. People whispered in grocery stores. Teachers stopped calling. Friends stopped visiting. Alina started locking herself in her room. She refused to go to school. She deleted all her social media accounts. She didn't want to be seen anywhere. "I'm a freak," she said once, curled up in my lap like she was 5 years old again. "I'm disgusting." "No," I told her, holding her face in my hands. "You were a child who trusted the wrong person." "That doesn't make you disgusting. That makes him evil." But I went along with it. "You were manipulated, threatened, lied to. That's not the same as choosing." Irina and I attended every court session together. We supported each other like survivors of war. And in a way, that's what we were, mothers fighting a battle we never saw coming. Eventually, Kostya was sentenced to 6 years in prison. It wasn't enough. Nothing ever would be. But at least he was behind bars. At least he couldn't hurt anyone else. After the verdict, Alina finally spoke in public. Just once. She gave a short statement outside the courthouse. Cameras flashed. Reporters shoved microphones at her. She said, "I was 15. I thought I was smart. I thought I could control it. But I couldn't. And I was too scared to ask for help. So if you're out there and something feels wrong, tell someone. Even if you're scared. Especially if you're scared." She didn't cry. Not until later. In the car, with the door closed and the cameras gone, she collapsed into my arms and sobbed until she couldn't breathe. And I held her. I held her like my life depended on it. Because maybe it did. That night, I looked through old photos of us. Birthday parties. School events. Trips to the zoo. My baby girl with ribbons in her hair and jelly on her cheeks. How did we get here? How did I let this happen? But I knew the answer. I didn't let it happen. He did. And now we begin to heal. After the trial, it felt like our world had shattered into 1,000 sharp-edged pieces. We were free, technically. But no one tells you how heavy freedom can feel when it's bought with that kind of pain. Alina barely spoke for days. The house was too quiet. No music. No laughter. Just her footsteps pacing behind closed doors and mine, moving in slow circles as I cleaned things that didn't need cleaning. Yulia was recovering at home too. Irina and I would talk almost every evening, short conversations, mostly updates on the girls. There was nothing else to say. No words that could make any of this make sense. Then one night, I found something. I was folding laundry in Alina's room, trying to be useful, trying to be close, when I knocked over a small box on her shelf. Photos spilled out. Not of her and friends. Not even of us. Photos of him. Kostya. Some of them clearly taken without his knowledge. Some not. I felt the air leave my lungs. Why? Why was she still keeping these? My mind spiraled. Did she still miss him? Was there something deeper I hadn't seen? Was it possible? No. No. I couldn't let myself go there. When she came home later, I was waiting in the kitchen with the box on the table. She froze. "You kept them," I said. "I forgot they were there," she answered, eyes darting to the floor. "Did you forget, or did you want to remember?" Silence. "You don't have to be ashamed if you're confused," I added quietly. "I just want to understand." Her face twisted, torn between anger and guilt. "He made me believe I was special," she whispered. He told me I was smarter than other girls. That I could handle anything. I swallowed the lump in my throat. He bought me things, she continued. Talked to me like an adult. You were always tired. Always busy. And I was angry all the time, at everything. I reached out, but she stepped back. I'm not blaming you, she said quickly. I liked the attention. Until it got scary. And then I didn't know how to stop. She sank into a chair. I thought if I told you, you'd look at me like I was disgusting. Alina, I whispered, sitting beside her. Nothing you could ever do would make me stop loving you. Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them back. Even after everything? Especially after everything. We sat there for a long time. No yelling. No accusations. Just breathing. That night, she put the box in the trash herself. Progress, I thought. Maybe this is what healing looks like. But healing is messy. A few days later, I got a call from the school. Apparently, someone had leaked Alina's story online. Not just the trial. Not just the news reports. Screenshots. Chat logs. Photos. Everything. The principal was sympathetic, but helpless. There are whispers, she said. Parents are complaining. We're doing what we can, but nothing. The damage was done. Alina refused to go back. I'll get my diploma online, she said flatly. I'm not going back there. I didn't argue. What could I say? She wasn't wrong. People stared. Talked. Judged. Even I caught the looks when I went to the store. As if I were the one who set the trap. The worst part? I started to believe them. What kind of mother doesn't notice her child slipping into that kind of darkness? What kind of woman lets a predator sleep in her bed? I started waking up in cold sweats. Every creak of the floorboards at night made me bolt upright. I changed the locks. Bought pepper spray. Deleted my social media. My world was shrinking. Irina was the only one who understood. We were both blind, she said one night over tea. And maybe we had to be. Maybe we couldn't survive knowing too much too soon. But now we live with it, I muttered. Yes, she nodded. But at least we're alive. A week later, we got another shock. Yulia came over. She looked stronger, healthier, but there was something new in her eyes. Steel. Resolve. I want to speak, she said. Publicly. Alina's jaw dropped. Are you sure? Yulia nodded. If I don't tell my story, someone else will. And they'll twist it. Irina and I exchanged a glance. We were terrified, but proud. So they did. Yulia went on a talk show first. Then Alina joined her for a school awareness program. They spoke about grooming, exploitation, shame, survival. Some people hated them for it. But others, many others, thanked them. And that made a difference. Slowly, painfully, our girls reclaimed their voices. They started building something new. Not what they had before, but something stronger. Alina smiled again. Not every day, but some days. She started painting. Volunteered at a youth center. She even mentioned applying to university. Psychology, she said. I want to help kids who feel like I did. I cried. Of course I did. But it wasn't over yet. Because even though Kostya was behind bars, his shadow still loomed. I got a letter in the mail, no return address. Inside was a photo. Me, Alina. Outside our house. Taken from a distance. I dropped it like it burned. A note was scribbled on the back. You think this is done? Think again. I showed it to the police. They filed a report. Said it was probably someone trying to scare us. Probably. But probably doesn't help you sleep at night. Still, we didn't run. I framed the photo and hung it by the front door. Why? Because we're not hiding anymore. And because sometimes, the scariest thing you can do to a monster is look it in the eye and say, I'm still here. I didn't sleep the night after the letter arrived. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photo again, our faces, caught mid-step, frozen by someone watching. Someone waiting. The police took the letter, opened a case, but I knew better than to count on it. People like Kostya didn't just vanish in prison. They left roots, twisted deep into places no law could reach. But I wouldn't let him win. Not anymore. A week later, Alina found me packing a box in the hallway. Are we moving? She asked, her voice quiet. No, I said, taping the box shut. I'm donating everything that reminds me of him. She stood there for a moment, then nodded. Can I help? We spent the whole weekend going through drawers, closets, shelves. Every photo, shirt, keychain, memory. Into the box. Out of the house. Gone. It didn't erase what he did, but it felt like a step forward. Until the second letter came. This one was worse. It included a USB stick. I hesitated before plugging it in. Part of me wanted to throw it in the fire. But curiosity, fear, maybe, got the better of me. The file was a video. Shaky footage. Dark room. A man's voice. Slurred. I know everything, the voice said. I know what you did. I know what she did. And I'm not the only one watching. Then laughter. Cold. Distant. Not Kostia's voice, but someone who knew him. The screen went black. That night, I sat on the floor and cried harder than I had in months. How far did this go? Who else was involved? Was it ever really over? The next day, I called the detective. He listened carefully. Took the USB. Promised they'd look into it. But promises don't stop nightmares. I knew I had to take matters into my own hands. I started researching. Names. Addresses. Connections. Anything Kostia had ever mentioned. People he met with. Calls he took. I made a list. And I wasn't the only one. Yulia was doing the same. She came over one afternoon with a folder stuffed full of papers. Look, she said. This guy? He used to send me money. I never knew why. But now I think maybe he was part of it. Irina was furious. You girls shouldn't be digging into this. But it was too late. We were in it now. One name kept coming up. A nightclub owner. Rich. Connected. Known for throwing private parties. We had no proof, but too many whispers. Alina said nothing when I showed her his name. Just nodded slowly. What? I asked. She looked away. I went there. Once. With Kostia. My heart stopped. Nothing happened, she said quickly. I swear. He showed me off. Like I was a trophy. Then told me to wait in the car. But I remember that place. The men. The way they looked at me. It was the final piece. I took everything to the detective. He looked through the folder for a long time. Then sighed. You realize what you're suggesting? I nodded. This isn't just grooming, he said. It's trafficking. I wanted to vomit. The investigation was reopened. Quietly. Carefully. I gave them everything. And then I waited. Weeks passed. Alina went back to painting. Yulia started school again. I tried to breathe normally. Then, one morning, they arrested the nightclub owner. It was all over the news. High-profile businessman suspected of running teen exploitation ring. My phone lit up like fireworks. Reporters. Neighbors. Strangers. I didn't answer any of them. We weren't doing this for attention. We were doing this for the girls they never found. The ones whose stories never got told. Alina watched the coverage in silence. You did that, I whispered. She didn't smile. Just exhaled. Maybe now someone else won't have to. The court case dragged on for months. He pled not guilty, of course. Claimed it was all lies. But the evidence was overwhelming. More victims came forward. Dozens. Some were grown women now. Others barely older than Alina had been. They painted a picture so ugly it made me question everything about the world we live in. But they stood together. Strong. Angry. Unafraid. And when the verdict came, guilty on all counts, we cried. Not for the man going to prison, but for the parts of ourselves we'd lost. The innocence. The trust. The time. Still, we were alive. We were healing. A year later, I watched Alina walk across a graduation stage. Not at her old school. Not even in the city. We'd moved. New home. New start. New names even. But the past still whispered. Sometimes she'd wake up crying. Sometimes I would. But we were honest now. No more secrets. She got accepted into university. Psychology. Trauma focus. She said she wanted to be the person she needed back then. And me? I started volunteering. Speaking to parents. Teaching them what signs to look for. How to ask the hard questions before it's too late. I still get letters sometimes. From girls. From mothers. From survivors. Thank you, they say. Thank you for not staying silent. Alina framed one of the letters. It hangs by our front door, right beside the photo. The one someone once sent to scare us. But it doesn't scare us anymore. Because we survived. Because the truth came out. Because justice, though late, was served. And because no matter how dark it gets, there's always someone ready to turn on the light.